Hello everybody. Welcome to this Directors in Dialogue event organised. I'm Dan Clifton, I should introduce myself. I'm the chair of the Federation of European Film Directors, and I'll just get my papers up here. We are, what is the Federation of European Film Directors? Well, we are a organisation that brings together the guilds, the directing guilds in Europe, and that comprises about 20,000 directors across 32 countries, I think that's right. And we are active, particularly in Brussels, in trying to help directors with our creative and economic rights in terms of getting a better deal for the work that we do. But also, we are a kind of network for sharing experiences, and that's why events like this are incredibly important, because it's an opportunity to share experiences between different filmmakers and what it's like to work at the moment in Europe as a film director. Let me just start, before I introduce our distinguished guests, can I ask who in the room is a director, just out of interest? Good, welcome. Well, you're among friends here, so... and who perhaps isn't a director but maybe would like to be a director? Well, you're welcome too. I hope you'll find this interesting. Yes, good.
Sorry,
well,
can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Is there anyone in the room that needs translation? Има ли нужда някой от превод? Okay. So, you can continue in English.
And are we, we'll test the microphone arrangements, but I'm hoping, Michaël, you might want to bring that over. So let me introduce our panel. First of all, on my left here is Pavel Vesnakov, who is an award-winning Bulgarian filmmaker. I think those of you in Sofia may well know his work. He's done, as he told us, 4 brilliant short films, award-winning short films that have had real attention, and now he's actually joining us today from the set of a TV drama that he's been working on. So he's kind of got a pretty tight window. He's like literally in the middle of a shoot, and he's also moving towards making his first feature, which I hope he'll be able to tell us a little bit about. And here on my right is Michaël Roskam from Belgium. From our point of view in FERA, we are delighted to have him as the head of the Unie van Regisseurs. I hope I've said that more or less right. The Flemish-speaking film directors in Belgium. Michaël started his career as a journalist, I think, and then screenwriter, and basically got into short filmmaking, made 4 shorts, and then made his first feature, Bullhead, which you're going to be able to see later on. A brilliant film that won him an Oscar nomination. He's then worked in Hollywood. Yes. And he is now just about to start shooting on his next feature in Belgium, which I think is called...
The Faithful.
The Faithful.
Le Fidèle.
Le Fidèle. The Faithful, Le Fidèle.
The English title is not set yet.
Well,
we still have to look for a good translation.
Okay. Well, why don't we kick things off, Pavel? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey, sort of getting into short films, and how that sort of started for you?
Hello to everyone. First of all, I want to apologize because I have a very strong spring allergy starting from yesterday, and I can sound a little bit weird, but my history with the short films actually started in a very... It wasn't something special actually, because I'm coming from... My family is not part of the cinema. I'm not coming from a cinema family, and I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning of my career when I started to study cinema in the university around 2006. And I've always been very curious and tried some different things, and I shot like, let's say, 10 or 15 very small films who doesn't have anything in common with the 4 short films that you've seen. And around 2010, I was watching films every day, and I just had this urge in me to try and shoot something very personal to me. And my first short film, it was very personal in a way, and this is how I started. But I didn't have anything special in mind. I just wanted to try it and to listen to my intuition, and yeah.
And your films, your first sort of the shorts, have grown out of this area that you've come from in Bulgaria. Is that true? Because that might be interesting just to talk about.
Yes, exactly. My first 3 short films, the story takes place in a neighborhood, and most of the time the neighborhood that I'm coming from in Sofia, it is not a special neighborhood, it's a very common place for living, and I've been very interested in these areas and the people who live there and their stories.
Was that similar for you, Michaël, as you started up, that you wanted to kind of start with something that was familiar?
Well, I think, yeah, it's one of those, apparently those basic rules that you better start just telling stories about things that you know. Making a movie is such and telling a story is something you have to learn. We all have our instincts, you know, when we go on a trip or we have an experience in life. You come home and you tell the story. You do it in a very in a structure that you learned by living, you know, by language. It is it's a basic thing, but it's still a structure. Telling a story that is fiction, you have to make it up. So you don't have that present, you know, the event, the experience itself. You don't have it. You have to create it. And storytelling is a very hard, a very difficult thing. It's not easy. And in order to use a subject that is very close to yourself, you actually already make it easier on yourself. People who want to tell stories and don't know yet how, and I even don't know, actually, at this point. It's a life process of to learn how to tell a good story in a good way. It helps to start with things close to you. I think it's also a reflex. Many storytellers start with very autobiographical elements.
How did that play for you? How did that play then for you in the film, in those shorts that you did?
I think, well, in my case, I started to make movies rather late. I studied painting. I'm a painter at the Academy of Fine Arts. I loved cinema. I went to the film museum every day, almost, at the time, and I never really was thinking of making movies. It just happened to me, in a way. And so I got rid of my autobiographical, obsessional bullshit pretty soon by writing and doing a lot of stuff. So it was out of my system, but still, I used elements very close to my personal life in a way, not on experience, you know, like not on the fact, you know, things that happened to me, but in a universe that was close to me. Yeah.
And you were telling us about kind of turning up on set for your first day.
Yeah.
And I mean, just talk to people about that kind of experience of, you know, literally not knowing what you're doing, having to kind of wear this kind of hat as the director. You've got to look like you vaguely have a plan.
If you want to be a director, you have to look like us. Because we both have glasses, a beard, our hair like... We're making jokes when we came in. I came to my first... I had one little experience on a set of a friend of mine who was a student. But I actually had no idea. When I arrived on my first set, it was a 4-day shoot. I arrived there at night. It was a night shoot, 4 nights. And I needed an empty parking spot where the characters would meet, and there was like a fight going. Just a fight that just ended, actually. And I came to the parking with my car and my assistant. The parking spot was actually really empty, except for 2 trucks. There were 2 trucks parked in the middle of the place. And I walked out, and I was very worried. It's like, what are these trucks doing here? You know, we were organizing an empty parking space, and all the people of the crew were looking at me. And it's like, yeah, this is the film equipment, trucks. I'm like, oh wow, like does it fit in 2 trucks? Like, do we need that many? I was very naive. So this whole crew was thinking like, are we going to make a movie with this guy because he doesn't know shit? So that was my first, and I was very, very embarrassed. But then I felt like coming home. It's like a little bit like you said. You know, movie making, it is somewhere an idea, but that you can decide. But I think it is more the cinema that the movie decides for you if they want you to make films. It kind of grabs you, and you have no idea how. So I don't know if it was for you a little bit the same.
I can add something here because I forgot. Actually, I think that the things that happen to you, the most personal things, they have to stay personal, but the way you feel while experiencing them, you can transfer this feeling to the screen. And this feeling can be in very different situations, like death or wrath, tragedy, and I think it's more about the feelings that you transfer to the screen than to the autobiographical things that happen to you, because things happen every day to everyone, but if you just transfer the situation to the screen, it will lack maybe the dramaturgy.
But you're talking about something quite interesting and specific, which is this transferring a feeling to the screen. So how did you learn to do that? I mean, where did you get the tools to do that? Where does that come from as a director? How did you find your way to doing that?
I still don't have idea how you have to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It is happening when you're shooting the movie. For me, I can feel it when we shoot it, or even without watching the video screen, just observing the actors. But sometimes you don't feel it. It is some kind of magic in a way. And for me, it depends mostly on the way you're doing your pre-production, like choosing the right actors, or writing the exact story for some actors that you know. This is how I did it most of the times, until now.
By working with particular actors?
Yes, or the best example is, for my 3rd short film, which is called Pride, I knew who is going to be the main actor, and I wrote the script especially for him. And it turned out quite successful in a way. But you cannot do this every time. It depends on the story, I think.
Yeah, there are no rules.
Yeah.
There's
Unfortunately, yeah.
It's true, and I recognize a lot what I was saying is you just it is a way of you prepare yourself for 100% in order to change your mind for 100% when the moment comes. So you don't have, let's say, the margin of mistake is 0. That's what you try to do. You just prepare as good as you can, and you're very good in convincing people that you actually know what you're doing. And you do know what you're doing. But being a director is kind of being ready to, in a split second, ready to do the opposite. If there is something that gives you a reason to do so. And in order to make that change successful, you need to be prepared 100% until just that moment before to believe for 100% that you were right. Even that 1 second later, you do the total opposite. But then you know why. And that's I think is that's experience. It's also one of the urges that I think directors have is, and maybe every writer, every storyteller, is that you believe in what you're doing, even when it's when it changes and you want to do the opposite, then you just do it, but you know why.
Can I ask you, Michaël, you, like Pavel, you started to discover when you were making your short film find some key kind of relationships, professional, artistic relationships,
yes.
Both with your actors and with your behind the screen sort of talent, cinematographer, composer and so on. Can you talk a bit about finding those relationships and how they've kind of then carried on with you as you've moved into your long, full-length feature work?
Today I'm still working. My first two shorts was with a cinematographer that I worked with, and then he became a director himself, so I couldn't use him anymore. But that's in 2005 I met Nicola Karakatsanis, who was still my DP. I did all my movies with him. For my second short I also just became friends with Raf Kunnen, who composed the music. He did all my films. I also discovered my editor, who did almost all my films. The drop was, I couldn't take all my family to the drop, so my artistic family, to my American film, because I needed to use some Americans, you know, otherwise it would have been but Nicola was there. So I think the importance, I mean, not every director works that way. You know, and again, like I said before, there are actually no rules. And I think what we were going to do is just give you a testimonial of how we work. You're in a stage of your career, I'm in a stage of my career, and we're going to give a testimonial actually. And I think personally, and I don't know how it's with you, Pavel, because if you're already in that stage, but for me it was very important to have this kind of artistic family that works with me. My producer is the same, and I just try to have the same people. Also my actor, Matthias Kunnarts.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a sec, but just on the sort of family idea, with this sort of sense of relaxing. That sense you were talking about a minute ago of being able to be completely free and in the moment and make those choices. I don't know if you'd agree that somehow having those people around that you trust, and that maybe not, they don't necessarily agree with you all the time, because that wouldn't be interesting, but it's that kind of sense, isn't it?
Absolutely. Making a movie is an extremely intense experience, and you're extremely vulnerable. During months of your life, or years, where you have to perform and everybody's depending somewhere somehow on your decisions, on your vision, and having those people around is just it's not only a psychological thing. It is, you know, to make you feel comfortable in a way. But then again, being comfortable is a great enemy of the director, because you know our job description, you know, when you would apply for the job, is like solving problems, and to worry professionally about things. You know, it's people say like, oh, don't worry. I'm like, don't worry. I mean, that's my job. I have to worry all the time, every second. So you're in a psychological and emotional state constantly, and having great people around you that you trust creatively, you know, and also on a personal, emotional level is very important. But the most important, and again, the most important is, do they contribute? Do they deliver and give you something that is good for the film? You know, you personally, you don't count. It's the movie.
Pavel, have you had a similar experience in finding a family, or do you work in that different way that you like to change it all the time? Some directors, you know, like to meet new people all the time and just keep it kind of moving. What's your sense of that?
I totally agree with the thing that you said, that the most important job for a director is to be able to change his mind or his ideas all the time, every 5 minutes. And I'm doing exactly this every time when I'm shooting. And actually I wanted to write something that I think, at least this was in my experience, the people that I started to work with, when they find out that I'm able to do this, and this was the moment that I won their respect, and they start to follow me in everything I decide. And I was able to earn their trust by this, and this is very important because it is very difficult if you're a director and you go on your shooting days and at some moment you don't know what to do. There's always something that you can do, and you can do whatever you want when you're shooting. This is how I see the things. And I'm always working with the same people, but I'm arguing a lot with them, actually, which I like very much. I'm arguing.
Arguing with them.
Yeah. My DOP and me, we are best friends, but we are fighting each other all the time. Yeah, and this is quite good in the end, I think.
Absolutely.
I just want to briefly pause with a little reality check about something which is sort of not something we normally like to talk about in the open, but I think we should. When you were making your short films, how were you getting paid? How are you making a living then?
For me personally, I've never been paid while making my short films, and for the past 4 or 5, or even, no, for the past 7 or 8 years I've been working as an editor as well as a director.
So that's how you've been making a living?
Yeah.
How did you do back in the day?
Oh man, I didn't get paid. It's a good question actually. I didn't think about it anymore. I had to, luckily.
I mean, were you making a living? Or do you have a big trust fund?
No. I just lived, but nothing.
Really?
Yeah. And I had to, what I did, again, I started my first short, I was, 29, 28 or something. So all these years I was actually still looking for my voice, you know. I wrote a novel that I never published. I always wanted to be a graphic novelist, like a comic thing, you know. So I was making a lot of drawings and doing experimental videos, you know. I remember doing a video with a camera where the preview little screen was broken, so I had to like just see what happened. No, my living was, like you said before, after my studies I worked as a journalist for a year. I'm a great race fan. I love Formula 1. And I was a journalist writing about Formula 1 racing for a year.
This is very nice. And I would like to work the same.
It was actually very nice. I loved it. It was a great job. But then of course, you know, you need time. As an artist, money is a second, I mean, no, you need to pay some stuff, you know. But basically what your currency is time, not money. I did a lot of, I directed a lot of radio commercials, which, you know, actors coming in and imitating weird voices in order to sell someone's product on the radio. That's what I did.
That's paid the bills.
Yeah, and that paid the bills. It was cool because a lot of actors do it in my country because their own. I don't think there are many actors that are really rich in my country. You can't make like a fortune out of being an actor or a movie maker. It's too small. And so we were just basically. I had the chance to meet a lot of actors through that because they don't like to use their faces for commercials, but their voices is not a problem. You know, you don't recognize this big ass actor from I don't know what if he's like, you have to, you know, buy my Volvo, you know, whatever. And I met a lot of people there, and it was great because I worked like 2-3 hours, and it was a good pay. But then again, I had nothing. I didn't. I had a library card, so movies and books, I rented them. My jeans was probably, I had two trousers, you know, one to wear and the other one to wash. It was time, a very simple life, and then you just do stuff.
So going back, shall we say, to the higher road of the artistic endeavour, as you have made your short films, you have been starting to work with a kind of little ensemble of actors. In particular, and these names I hope will be familiar to some of you guys. Alexander Alexeyev, brilliant young talent, and Valery Yordanov. So can you tell us a bit about meeting them, and their contribution to your film is very powerful to your films, and I'm just interested in how you started to kind of get to know them and how to started to get to work with them, and in a way, if you have a process there that you started to kind of develop with those guys.
Yeah, actually it was, everything happened by chance in the beginning, because we just met each other and we became friends, we shared the same taste for cinema, but when I started to shoot my first short film with them, I've been written some very bad dialogue for this movie, and we met and we changed the dialogue together, and actually the dialogue didn't have anything in common with what I was written, and they just kept the meaning and taught everything to their own words. And this is from this moment I'm always doing this with all the actors that I'm working for my own films.
So a kind of workshop process where you're
something like this, yeah. They have the freedom to change the dialogue wherever they want, just they have to keep the meaning.
And you're doing this during the rehearsal process, or even earlier, in a kind of development script?
It maybe 1 or 2 weeks before the shoot, but we have a lot of rehearsals. And it is not a rehearsal of the scenes, it is just dialogues, we are talking a lot. And when I go to shoot the movie, I'm not talking so much with the actors there, because they come very well prepared for what they're doing. And if they change something, I'm always happy with this, actually. And for my past 2 films, everything from the dialogue is improvised.
So that strong naturalist edge to your work, and sort of realism or neorealism, whatever you want to call it, but that kind of almost observational kind of quality, this has come from these guys to some extent, and from your own trust in them in a way.
I think it's a complex process of everything you're saying, but you cannot do this kind of style if you're forcing your actors to do something that is just in your mind and it just stays there and you don't want to let it go. You have to be ready to change everything in order to make this style work. This is at least my experience, but I'm not sure if it will work for everyone else.
But they're kind of signing up to the vision of the script, so there's still a kind of core...
Yes, yeah.
They're not writing.
No, they're not writing, but they've read the script a lot of times. They know the dialogue that I've written very, very well, and they know what is the direction, but they're free to go there in a way that is very easy for them, the easiest way for them. And they're doing everything through their own personality, in a way. And I think that it's important for every actor to put some part of your own self into the movie.
Thank you. And so you've had a similar experience in your shorts of also finding some key relationships with actors, and I'm thinking of Matthias Schoenertz, of course, above all, and moving on with him. Can you tell us a bit about, I'm sure people know him, a great sort of star. Can you tell us a bit about meeting him and getting to work with him, and again, similarly, what your process has been with him, because it's such an intense work that it'd be very interesting for people to know about that.
I think, first of all, I would like to acknowledge a little bit what your process. I recognize it a lot. So it's I have a similar way of working. Also giving, all my dialogues when I write them. I tell everyone these are directions. I'm not Shakespeare. Maybe one day I think I am, and then I'll punish every actor for changing a line. But for now it's the same. I recognize it. It's a very nice way of working. It gives a lot of realism to your work, And again, it's a contribution of many, many talent. As a director, I always think, and I'm coming to Matthias, but I would like to just say something. As a director, I always consider my work, my job, not my work as a result, but I always think that my job is at its best when I'm doing nothing. It's like when everybody is like, there's these moments maybe on set, you know that moment when you're sitting there, you're like, if I disappear right now, for the next 5 minutes, nobody will notice, because they're working.
Concentration.
They're working, and you see that you've prepared them well, and they're all like busy, and you're like, if I just sneak out, they're just not going to keep going. It's like a child with a bike, you know, your kid, you know, it needs to learn to bike, and you're like holding it, and at some point you just leave it, and he doesn't know it. He's like, are you holding me? Yes. He's like, wow, good, don't let me go. No. But you're actually biking, you know. And then they look at you, and then they're, you know, it's a bit the same. You know, as a director, you're doing it. My best moments for me is the moment that I realize that actually not needed.
I agree, yeah.
You know, that feeling, huh?
Yeah, I had this feeling once that at one moment everything was happening so well that when I started to talk with the actors, I realized that I'm distracting them, I'm not helping them, and I'm killing the process in a way. Yeah, I've been in this situation as well.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful moment. You're just kind of sitting like a stone in the water. You're like, wow. Yeah, absolutely. And these are the wonderful moments of filmmaking. More than, sometimes it might sound a bit weird, but an applause in a room after a movie is great, you know. Yeah. But those moments are actually the greatest moments for me in movie making. Yeah. It's like I can actually just disappear right now, and it's all going to go well. So Matthias, yeah. It feels like I don't want to talk about it, right?
Well, no, maybe you don't.
Like many things in life, the truth about sometimes is very. I remember I was going to meet him, and my short film, the character was beaten up and had to talk like in a difficult way, and it felt like. So I was going to visit him, and there was another actor with him at his house. So we were on this little terrace, and I had this little video camera to shoot a little bit, you know, the audition in a way. And he was very impressive already. He was like really talking. I'm like, wow, this guy, you know, he controls his breathing, and you know, he's really hurt, right? And then I find out actually that 2 days before he had an acute appendix thing. So he was just really hurt. I thought he was just brilliant. He wasn't. He
wasn't acting at all.
He was like, it hurts. He was not even acting. And I'm like, wow, he's great. I take him. You know, let's have him. But he's good. He's a good actor. You know, he's a fantastic actor actually. Yeah, that was it was so funny when I found out about it. He almost died actually. Yeah, he's very proud of it. Yeah.
So you began to work together, and I mean, did you just tell us about a process for someone like him who seems extremely committed? As the director, do you have a similar, process of preparation, or do you leave him to his own thing, or how do you engage? Do you like just to come on the day and see what they're doing? I mean, how is that for you, Michaël?
I always try to, once I decided that I have a system of how I work, then the system doesn't work anymore. So I don't know, it's mostly there's one thing I haven't done yet is rehearsal, but I do talk a lot. I talk about, what I do with my actors, I talk about everything that is not in the script. I talk about the backstory of the character. I might do a little bit of rehearsal, mostly with actors that have just small parts, because they need.
They are the most difficult ones, I think.
Yes, because they have no smaller parts very rarely have either an evolution in your story, and if they have, it is not shown. So you need to help those actors to find something in order to find the beats of the heartbeat of their character. Total opposite. He rehearses every scene inside out, films it with a video camera. He actually has his whole movie on video before the first shooting day. And I'm like, why? He's like, I don't know, it's the way he works. You know, he develops the story, he's very driven by the characters. And I think maybe my story is the hero. My characters, everyone is serving the story. They contribute, all of them, to tell the story. And of course with Felix and for you, I heard you also spend a lot of time talking. I don't know if you rehearsed.
No, we don't rehearse.
Yeah, me neither.
Never.
I don't like it, you know. And so it's not about not liking. It's like, you know, I'm scared, you know, that I'm seeing stuff that I can't use.
Yeah, I can add something here, which it's very strange, because I noticed it when I was shooting my short films, and I'm noticing it right now when I'm shooting a TV series. There are some scenes which we talk about with the actors before shooting them, and then the magic happens just once in the first shot, when they don't know what they're doing and they're put into the unknown, and everything is very beautiful sometimes. And then when you start to make different frames and start to cover the whole scene, it's not the same anymore. So I think that the rehearsals can kill this thing, and I'm very afraid of the rehearsals.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
So you met Matthias and started to develop and work together. And tell us about the sort of next step on this journey to, you know, your first feature, Bullhead, that was a kind of great breakout work for you. Just tell us a little bit about the process of getting that off the ground. Not so much, you know, well, maybe a little bit about was it easy to raise the money, but certainly kind of just getting the idea, the story down, getting it right. I mean, you wrote it yourself. Mm-hmm. I heard that it took you a while. Don't know if that's true, but you must have worked hard on it. And, you know, how did you know, when did you know that it was ready? Did you have good partners who just said, look, you need to keep going, mate? Or how was it, you know?
It was like a story for me. It has let's say a date of birth. You know, there's one moment in your life you suddenly have the story. It's like pop. And one of the things I don't do is I never write my ideas. I believe in the survival of the fittest idea. You know, yeah. If it's good, I remember it. If it's bad, I'll forget it, and then I don't mind anyways because I forgot about it. So it's a good thing because, and so the idea is there. It's in your mind, and they're like I have like 6 children. Some of them are kicked out of the house, you know, like Bullhead and my shorts. And then with Bullhead, I just started writing, and I remember my first script was terrible. It was 220 pages. It was more like a novel. It was bad. And I didn't know how to write scripts. I luckily went to the Binger lab, which was a 5-month workshop of writing based on a real project. They select you, and then you work, and they guide you through that process. And for me, that was very useful. That was these script masterclasses actually are fantastic at the time for me. I don't know how Binger now is. I heard still good things.
Well, it's closed down.
Oh, did it?
Sadly, yeah. It's certainly been mothballed because of money problems.
Oh, it closed?
Yeah. It's closed at the moment, whether they will reopen it, but yeah, at the moment it is closed.
I didn't know.
Which is interesting, because they also had a director's lab, and
yes.
That's gone.
Yeah, the director's lab is no.
Anyway.
You don't need it. Another story. Yeah. No, I have to. Wow, I didn't know. Yeah. That's bad. Anyways, I was actually saying like you should, whoever is doing that, you should go to Bingo Lab. Now they have to find something else. But it was just you just write, and then at some point, for instance, I thought I was ready. At some point, and one of my producers said, you know, we have the money. We have 27 days to shoot your film. And I knew, my instinct says, you cannot tell this movie and shoot it in 27 days. It's going to be killed. So I took a huge risk, I don't know. I said, I'm not doing it. I need you to find more money. And they're like, yeah, but we might be finding ourselves next year with the same amount of money. And then you lost a year. But I decided to take the risk. I said, just go and find more money. I will wait. And they did. And they found a little bit more money. And also the producers there understood, and their friends, you know, it's not like, they understood. Yeah, that I knew what I wanted. And they found, so we had 35 days at the end. And that's how, when are you ready? You're never really ready, I think. You just, you just do it. There's a moment of, it's like, Christopher Tallison, the editor I worked on with The Drop, said it beautifully. A movie, you never finish a movie, you abandon it. There's a moment, because you can keep working on stuff anyways. And he says, you just let it go. And it's the same, the opposite. It is not like you're ready at some point, you just do it. And that's that exact moment, and of course, I think you all know that. Yeah.
So when you turned up on set for the first day of Bullhead, you now knew you knew that the trucks were for the lights and the grip equipment. You know, there was at least you'd learnt something there. Tell me, I mean, just the kind of sense of that step to making a first feature. You know, maybe looking back with the benefit of wisdom, it all went very well. But you know, at the time, how did it feel? Did it feel like a big step, or did you feel ready for it?
Wow, you're bringing me to places. I'm like, wow. I don't know. It was. I'm trying to remember my first day. I don't remember it actually.
I mean, the first day. I'm just talking about the experience. You know, yeah. It's just because the reason I asked the question is the industry has this kind of sense of directors on a kind of ladder of some kind, and the step from shorts to features is a big step, and like they see directors in a certain way as. Are you ready to make that step? Oh no, he's not ready, or she's not ready. Yes, so she's ready. Yada yada. I mean, and like you say, it's sort of what does it really mean? Really, it's like when it's ready, and you know better than anyone, kind of thing. I'm just interested in kind of your sense of that, making that jump. Was it a jump or not?
Oh no, yes. No, I know what you mean. It's my last short film actually. I shot it in LA. I went on my own. I won 10 reels of Super 16 film stock, and I adapted. I felt that I wasn't ready yet after 3 shorts. I chose a story where 4 people around the table, and it was just talking heads, and I experienced more difficulties in order to direct 4 people around the table talking than. I realized I've never done it, and I had some ideas about my feature, and I knew I'm going to have a lot of people talking, and I decided to do it to get ready. It was almost like an assignment. It's my most important short. It's definitely not my best. It's a bit of a weird piece. It's like a white crawl, but I love that movie so much because it means so much to me. I learned a lot. I challenged myself in ways that I knew now I'm ready. And if you're ready as a director, you convince everyone that in order to get there. It's not about people around you will be ready when you tell them. without knowing, I guess.
Pavel, you're hoping to make your first feature. How is that going for you? I mean, with the incredible success of your short films, is it going smoothly?
This is quite a difficult subject for me. It is not going smoothly, unfortunately, because I'm living here in Bulgaria. But we have a lot of problems here with the financing and the way cinema is treated and the whole Bulgarian culture is treated right now. And we are in a very, very difficult situation where we can go in one direction, that we can save this and try to develop it, or we can kill it forever, in a way. The Bulgarian society is on this crossroad. But this doesn't concern only me, it's for all Bulgarian young directors. It's very difficult to have made your first feature film. And the saddest thing in this is that when I'm outside of Bulgaria, I can feel how everyone is expecting for me to make a feature film and everyone is interested in my short films. But here in Bulgaria, it's not like this. Only the people who are making films are like this, but this is a very small amount of people here. And no one cares about it, actually. And yeah.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
Who's producing your shorts? Is it are you, the producers? Like
yeah, the producers, they are very young, and we started to work together. And I was no one, they were no one. We started like this, but my last two shorts, they were co-productions with Germany.
With Germany?
Yeah, and I have a German and French co-producers as well, for the feature film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're basically trying to find financing for your movie outside Bulgaria?
The situation is a little bit more complicated because we had financing from France and Germany already, but we just had to take money from Bulgaria in order to receive this money from outside. Then we've won some kind of financing, and we had some problems with the Bulgarian National Film Center, who didn't give us the money. Then a few months ago we've won again, but maybe we'll have to wait 5 years to receive this money. And this is blocking everything, actually. And the only solution for me is to make a film without money, or to make a film only with German and French money, it will be made in Bulgarian, with Bulgarian actors, but if I present it somewhere, it will be a German film, not a Bulgarian one. Yeah. But this is the situation.
It's going to be in the language. Is it going to be German language?
No, it will be Bulgarian.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. No, I mean, I'm very aware of the. This is something that as a director you have always to, things that you don't have in hand. Is this whole financing system now? I'm a little.
Michaël, you said something interesting about the difference. You've worked over the other side of the pond in LA.
Yeah.
Bullhead was financed in the kind of European system.
Yes.
Many different financiers. I mean, you can tell us, but presumably a good 10 or something. I don't know, but between 5 and 10 different kind of parties involved.
Yeah.
You then went to LA to shoot the drop. I say LA, I mean you went to the States, I don't know where you shot it. Did you shoot it in LA?
No, it was in New York.
You shot it in New York, fine. But, with the LA American studio system. Yeah. Tell us about making that transition and how money plays differently, because at least I guess you must have had more money to make the drop than you had for Bullhead.
Yeah.
So how did that work?
I think the basic difference, I have this kind of rather simplified model about what the difference is. In Europe, the guy who gets the money owns the film. I mean, the maker. That can be, it's a duo like the director-producer, as an entity. So the guys or the guy who gets the money owns the film. In America, the guy who gives the money owns the film. Two totally different, and none of them is better than the other.
How does that manifest for you as the director?
I think as a director, and especially with Europe, where the whole authorship concept is different than the one in America, the Anglo-Saxon concept, because it's not an American concept. It's been invented by the English. You know, it's true. You know, the king owns your work.
You know, the rocket that you're sitting on as the director, when they're about to light the fuse, is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
You get these amazing big talent. Suddenly, you were told us about, you know, the sort of the list of names. I mean, what was that experience like to go from a small movie about a small part of Belgium that you knew well, very kind of intimate and personal, to something that was, well, pretty unfamiliar and with this big rocket?
Yeah, it goes fast. You know, the American system. When I had the chance to work with Searchlight, it was just a studio. And the Americans, they make so many movies that they have an industry. That's why also they have no unions in America, only for movies. It's the opposite in Europe, actually. We have unions, but I mean, our power is, if you see the power of the Directors Guild, for instance, and then the Writers Guild, and the whole system, how it is organized, how many people working there, because you have this, probably heard the stories about, as a director, you cannot touch this, you cannot touch a thing, whatever. And it's kind of true, but once you're there, you see why it works. But of course, it also works, but also they have the money for it. Like, The Drop was let's say, I don't remember, I think $13 million to make The Drop. And Bullhead in Europe was 1.9 million euros. And you have to take 10 times the amount of money. In Belgium, I would have made The Drop for 1.4. But if I wanted to make Bullhead in the Hollywood, you know, the system of the unions, you know, the Hollywood system, Bullhead would have cost $19 million, because so many people are working in that system. It's a totally different thing. Is it better? No. Is it worse? No. It's different. It doesn't make sense to compare it and try to find a way.
But when you make that sort of smaller film, European film, you, as you say, you know, because of the financial structure, in a sense, you know, you feel like you own it. I mean, that must give a kind of certain creative freedom, at least.
It's a different
freedom to screw it up as much as anything. But with the American system, does it change your mindset in terms of?
But I think that the producers in Europe who have to make a movie with 1.9 probably are more nervous, and we're all more scared than to lose anything than maybe the guys with the 13 million in the studio. If they do one $13 million fuck up, you know, that's okay. You know, well, let's lose it. You know. If we do it, we're like, it's done.
It's over.
You never make a movie again. There's more like, yeah, you know, next time. It's a different world, and what is it? Well, for me, the difference basically is that the thing is that the power. It's not a power, because I had good people I worked with. You know, Peter Chernin, Searchlight, very talented, very, you know, experienced people, very kind, very loving to the art of movie making, but also business people. And I mean, and movie making is of all the arts. Making a film is so hard because for a director, is that you have to be conscious about the business element of it. You know, the money thing. You know, you've been because I'm very intrigued by the challenges that you encounter in order to make your film, to motivate and to inspire the people with the money to give it to you. That's the big challenge. That's as big as a challenge as talking to an actor, even bigger maybe. And
I want to open it up to some questions, but just one final thing that has intrigued me. You went to make The Drop. James Gandolfini.
Yes.
Tom Hardy. They are, I think it's fair to say, sort of notorious sort of nutcases amongst actors, kind of hard men, very testing of directors, of everyone. You had been working, I mean, you know, Matthias is a big guy, but he's obviously a good friend of yours. wasn't, you know, what what was it like to work with these guys, and how did you go about winning them over, or was it just like, oh man, you're the bullhead guy, I love you? Was it easy?
Yeah, I wanted to ask the same, actually.
Sorry?
I wanted to ask the same.
Yeah. No, I put roofie in their drinks. And I had compromising pictures. And then I said, if you don't do what I say, I'll send it to the Daily Mail. No, it's not true. Suddenly I'm like imagining what I would have done to them if I would have put roofie in it. I think James is laughing right now. No, it was a little bit. I don't know how it is. These guys were just great, actually. They all have like you know, people say stuff about them, and yeah, I mean Tom Hardy is predictably unpredictable. He's a very dedicated man, very talented, and you know, all these actors, when they come to in this system where people want to make money, you know, that's what it actually basically is. When the money's involved, you see dark side. It's a cliche, but it's true. You encounter a lot of not so good people, and when you're an actor with great talent, you're basically asked to be naked and vulnerable in front of people that you don't know who they are, if you don't know if you can trust them. And especially like these kind of guys, they're just so sensitive to everything. That's what makes them great actors. Now James was very experienced by the time that we did our movie together, so he was kind of, but still he was, I sometimes saw him getting prepared for a scene. If you would have told, if I would have come from Mars, I would have thought like, this is a guy that has never acted in his life, that is so nervous and so scared to do this. Like, are you kidding me that he's going to do a job? Like, if it wasn't James Gandolfini, I would be like, this guy cannot do this shit. You know, we have to find someone else. And he was, but you could tell that he would. It's almost like it was his first time of acting. And with Tom Hardy, Tom reacts differently. He's also a younger man, and but he's the same. And all these people, what they actually need to know is like they're going to dance on a very wobbly table. They just want to know that you, as a director, that you're holding it. And once that happens, then you get them, and they trust you. And as a director, you have to be many people. You know, you have to be psychologically. But manipulating, some directors manipulate their actors. You know, it works maybe for one movie, but basically, it's not good. You know, you have to make sure that they trust you. And with these guys, of course, coming with Matthias as a friend, but very soon it was the same. You basically realize they're just like you and me. They're very, very vulnerable people, ready to do a great job, and we became friends. And you know, with James Gandolfini became with Tom as well. Knew me. I'm very lucky to have great experiences with my actors all the time, and I always look forward, maybe hopefully, to work with them again. And or maybe it's the case because I like difficult nutcases. Maybe I just like them.
I want to ask something. Yeah,
please.
According to this, do you think if it's possible just to call Numi one day and tell her, I'm shooting a small film in Europe, I don't have money for anything, can you come and do this for me?
Yes.
This is possible, yeah.
Absolutely. I can, yeah, absolutely. Numi, especially actually.
Not only her, I mean, I'm just.
I can call her if you want. You want to ask me something? I give you. No, I will. I would actually. Numi is and all of them. They're very, very generous and very loyal people, and they can do that. But again, like I told you, like, you know, the business thing. On one hand, it's a business. And on the other hand, it's a passion. You know, you can do it, and you would even put your money in it. And sometimes you just say like, no fucking way. I'm like, give me the money. Like, I need money for this. And it is, Yeah, but like Numi would do it, absolutely, and I think Tom would do it, Matthias would do it, yeah.
On that note, let me see if we've got some questions here in the audience, because Pavel has to, as I said, he's come from his set and he has got to get back to the set.
Shooting on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's a rough old game, but let's take advantage of another sort of 10 minutes before he has to go for some questions from everyone. Thank you. There's a microphone coming in.
What?
Hello.
Hello.
I just wanted to ask you, just in
Me?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
you is it possible, for example, if you have a good relationships with a famous actor like Tom Hardy, to bring a great script and to ask him to be a co-producer with you?
If that is possible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does it work like that in Hollywood as well? Just to bring them a great story, a great script, a great role, and to ask them to be a part of the financial stuff?
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. Again, there are no rules. Everything is possible in movies, and making them.
Have you tried?
I haven't tried because I didn't need it at this moment. I mean, there's but like for instance, I know that Tom has a production company, for Numi as well, and they, for instance, Numi now, speaking of her, found this young, promising director with a great script, and then she's doing it herself. And trust me, it's not easy. Even for, we might sometimes think that they're just like, do their fingers like that, and make things happen. Again, movie making is an expensive thing, and they're not always. If Numi or Tom Hardy says, I need 5 million euros to make this crazy, there's no guarantee it will happen. It is a strange thing. And on the other hand, when I was doing the job, developing this film, they said, oh yeah, we're going to make this movie, but if you don't cast it with a great name in the next 3 months, it's done. The movie goes back in a shelf, and you're out. So it's always the good odds, bringing things together. And I could maybe now have I'm developing a TV series, and I want Numi in it. We're doing this together, but it's not. Even now, it's never easy. Actually, I always think like if something goes easy, I don't trust it. That I think I'm making a mistake. That I didn't see a problem. When it's easy, something's going wrong. There's nothing easy in movie making. It has to be. You have to love problems, right?
Another question? So.
My question is about Bullhead and how nowadays the mafia and all that in that movie, and how did your personal life inform the script and the entire movie?
What about part in the mafia in Belgium?
No, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, I cannot talk about it.
It was based on a true story, wasn't it?
Yeah, the story itself of Bullhead is I wrote it, I invented it, but the background, the hormone mafia, is a real thing. It was in the 90s. We had a sort of inspector of the Food and Drug Administration, for that has to see if the meat is good, not hormones in it. It's a European law. But everybody was putting hormones in it, and actually still today, they still do it. But at that time, most farmers were like very smart and said like, you just don't pay attention to ourselves, just do this. But there's this one veterinarian inspector that could not be corrupted, a sort of an Elliot Ness kind of character. And then there was this one crazy guy who decided to shoot him. They killed him, and that's when it came out. We suddenly realized we had a real organized crime involved in the meat industry, and that became a real criminal background that I wanted to use, because I love film noirs, I love crime dramas, but I didn't like, I'm not gonna like, you know, dress some Belgians like Italian mafia and then, you know, claim to have like a crime drama. No, I wanted some real stuff. And my next movie as well is also based on I called it the Belgian crime trilogy, you know, using some real specific, very exotic crime environment, like farmers and gangsters in one. Felt like pretty original, so that's why I did it. And then I created a story around it, and things were. It is a very organic. You cannot point out. I'm not going to give away one of the elements of the movie, but for those who have seen it, there's a specific thing that happens to the main character, and that came from the way they. I cannot talk about that.
No, don't spoil it.
It has something to do with how they treat pigs in the meat industry. male pigs.
I think we've got time for one more question.
Yes, ladies first.
Ladies first.
Come on. But also have a question.
I have a question to Pavel. Why is bad to produce film out of Bulgaria, and why you tell us that the film will be not Bulgarian one? Why, from your point of view, why should it be bad?
I don't understand the question. You mean?
You are producing with the German producers, isn't it?
Yeah.
You are producing, and the film after is not Bulgarian one.
Because this is something personal, because if I take money from Germany and from France and I make the money, the movie in Bulgaria, and I want this film to be German and French, not Bulgarian. This is my own decision. It's based on my experience and everything that I've been through, and I think that it is not fair for this country to take something that it didn't give me anything to do it. It's just personal.
It's personal.
I want to do it very badly, actually. I want to do it very, very badly. This is.
You would like it to be a Bulgarian film, but it's not happening as a Bulgarian film. So
I would love to be German or French film, of course. I didn't tell it right, maybe.
But I don't think it's personal. It's more a question of.
Is there someone here that is involved in financing movies in Bulgaria?
I doubt it.
Yes. So basically,
you're searching for someone from the institutions, so.
I don't know, just someone because I'm very.
Yeah, you won't see people.
No, I am not from the National Film Center. I am just a producer, and I know what he's talking about.
Yes. Because that is.
It's a little bit difficult because I don't know. It's a big problem with the culture in general here in Bulgaria. So the problems with the financing of the movie is just a part of it, and it's a real one. We hope it will change. I think that you should not wait for 5 years for getting money.
Yeah.
I'm sure that we will get money till the end of the year.
The problem, we won't get the money until the end of the year, but the problem here is that people are hoping that their wives will get better, and we are hoping that you'll get the money. This problem looks stupid compared to the other problem of the people living here in Bulgaria. That's why I'm not complaining about this. This is just my situation, and I accepted it, but I don't feel very optimistic about it.
Just the problem with the French or German film is that usually you have to get money from the country,
yes.
And after that to get a co-production. But if you have money and they give you the money, even if you don't have the money from Bulgaria, it's super. We are living the same world, and for me it doesn't matter if it will be a national film. If it will be called a Bulgarian film. We are all living in this world, and it's wonderful. If you get money, it's super.
Yeah.
The problem is that it's really difficult to get money if you don't have first in Bulgaria.
So like European funding, is it if you have, let's say you have a Bulgarian basic funding, like first degree funding from Bulgaria, you can apply for, like, say, Unie or
you can, of course you can.
You have to have a home country.
Yeah, you need a home country. So actually, basically, if I got it right, you would love to make Bulgaria the home of your film, but unfortunately, the situation is that Bulgaria cannot open the door for you.
Yes, the problem is that the Bulgaria is closing the door intentionally. In my situation,
that's the real problem.
Yeah.
That's the real
and it is not only for me; it's for a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah, here in Bulgaria, and this is based on a lot of different problems that we have in our society, like corruption, and the wolves are not treated very well, and yeah.
So what do you think is, because of course I'm very aware of what you said, you know, that the realism, you don't want to complain, you know, because of the situation maybe in the country itself. You know, many people have, you know, erst das Fressen und dann die Moral, right? So, you know, first you need food, you know, you cannot enjoy a good movie if you're hungry, right?
Of course, yeah.
That's basically it. So, yes, then I understand that you have to find another home for your film. And that's your challenge.
Yeah, it is something like that.
It is. Yeah. It's the way. It's the way it is now.
Did we have one more last question here? Thank you.
Hi. My question is kind of two parts. Many new up-and-coming directors make their own scripts. They write their own scripts, right? So I don't know if you have had someone else write a script for you, and if you have, what's the difference between tackling your own idea and directing someone else's script?
Yes, yeah. I think it's an evolution in your life as a director. You know, you discover ways of working, and then again, like I said before, once you discover a system in it, then you kind of change it in a way. But yes, I wrote my own scripts. Let's put it this way: if you were a writer-director, you will probably make half the amount of movies in your career than if you're not. It takes a huge time to be because you're two entities. You're a scriptwriter for a year, 2 years, 3 years. With Bullhead, it was probably in total maybe almost 3 years of writing, of working, but spread over 5. So sometimes people say he worked 5 years on it, but I did other stuff than writing on the script. But now I develop my stories. Like The Drop was written already. It was a different thing. You try to own it as if you wrote it yourself. It is that's the feeling I wanted to have. I realized that this is what I needed. I read a lot of scripts, but when I read The Drop, I was like, wow, I wish I had written it. And so then it almost becomes as if I am the writer, you know. But then now for the Faithful, I collaborated with a writer. I wrote kind of a first act and an outline of the rest of the script, and then it went to Thomas Bidga, who I was very happy to meet through Matthias, who played in Rust and Bones, and Thomas is the scriptwriter of Jacques Audiard, who does A Prophet and all this. So we met, and I pitched the story. We connected very well, you know. And then I asked, like, can I pitch you a story? He's like, please, by all means. And I pitched him the story. He's like, I love it. I said, can we work together on it? Because I need a writer. I need to speed up the process a little bit. So he wrote, then he agreed, collaborating. So I wrote the first kind of basics to it. Then he wrote number 2. I wrote 3. He went 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So today we have version number 10, and then it goes. Now it's going to go back to, because in 5 weeks we're shooting. Now it goes back to Thomas, and he's going to like clean up, you know, the dialogues and, you know, and do some stuff. So his version 11 will probably be the shooting draft, point 2 then, because this one is. With my next project I'm doing in America, is with the same people I did the drop with Peter Chernin producing, Searchlight as the studio financing the movie. I wrote the story. It's a kind of a 3-page treatment, and we're looking now for a writer to just give the first draft. I'm not going to write the first draft, but I might take it over and then write number 2 and then 3, and you know that's it's a process of finding ways.
Pavel, how about you? I mean, your work, maybe until the TV drama, has been all written and developed by yourself.
It is. For me, I always write the script entirely by myself. Then I give it to someone else just to make it work, and in the end I'm doing something totally different when we start shooting. But this is for short films, and you can do this in the short films. In a feature film it's totally different. Yeah. But I've been in the same situation. I wrote my first feature draft together with another Bulgarian director, Konstantin Bujanov, as I told you, yeah. And he wrote the first draft, I rewrote the next one, now we have 3 or 4 versions.
Well, I hope you've all found this an interesting conversation. I think it's been really great to have the generous spirit of Michaël and Pavel sharing their experiences, and I think this conversation between directors has been very illuminating, certainly for me. And I'd like to thank both of them for coming and joining us today and being so generous. And I hope that you will put your hands together and join me too in saying thank you.
Thank you.